Oh, I did hit that one nicely. Let's have a look at some great moves, some great swingers. We'll find out how to get, or where we should be, in and around impact. When we look at the averages of movement, the closer you get to these positions, people, the better you will hit the golf ball. Let's have a look as we look at McIlroy and Jason Day with the shadow effect on the left side of the screen. All right, let's look at that again. Learning visually, learning really up to 50% visually. Look where they're getting that lead leg, right? Moving laterally, but the head's actually moving back in the opposite direction. Head slightly down to the right. Now you can get in there and have a look at that right leg position. And a lot of the time when we're getting in there, we're having a look at the shoulders and the shoulder planes of the swing. We can get an idea as to where these shoulders are. And they're just about every single time we're seeing them up over 30 degrees. Now when you're looking at the advanced players. It doesn't mean that you need to get exactly into every position, but if you're further away from these positions, the worse you're going to hit it. There's like a clicking zone here. And when we're looking at that right hip, and where that lead hip goes. And when you're looking at averages of movement and biomechanics, and I use TrackMan, and you've got the force plates and you've got the biomechanics, you've got all the business, it's all good. But to break it down simply with filming your swing is still, if I had a wish out of all the things that I use, it's still video. And having a look at where you're swinging when you're playing nicely. Something that we're showing on WorldClassGolf.com. Let's have a look at Adam Scott. What a remarkable action. Look at the head move down in the pivot. I've been speaking about 3 inches of movement average on the way down. What a wonderful golf swing it is. And watch this movement forwards, head down and moving to the right as he slots it into this position. Now there's not as much shaft length. You're only looking around 0 to 3 degrees on average. You're not seeing players with a lot of shaft length. It's almost straight up at 90 degrees here. That's where you're seeing most of the players. A couple of degrees of shaft length because the ball's further left. But you're always going to be seeing some room, people, in between the shoulder and the wall. But looking at that lead leg moving up against the wall is really quite remarkable. Let's have a look at one of the best drivers of the ball, really of all time here, as we see having a look at McIlroy moving down. This is how you can hang on to your angles, right? Hitting it with the bent right arm, using the ground as leverage, as we see really a very, very similar position here to Adam Scott. See how that leg is almost identical in the amount of lateral movement from this lead hip. And moving this lead hip forward and towards the target, and the head moves down and to the right, people. So very interesting looking at the averages of movement and getting ourselves in this driver zone. What a wonderful position it is when you can get your body close or in this position. It really is a fantastic feeling. Let's talk about how we can get in there with some drills and some exercises and perhaps a cause and effect for some of you golfers out there trying this. You may, at the start, push them out to the right slightly. Let's look at the drill, and we'll talk about, now this is also very important for advanced players, not hitting their driver, all that great. We'll talk about a couple of statistics, biomechanics, a few stats here, where we can get ourselves into, trusting something. Now, we want to be working with great information, and once you can trust it, you've got some patience. Here's the drill, here's the feel, right? We've got the hands on the outside of the leg. Now, you've got your address position. Now, your stance is going to be wider. It promotes a longer flat spot at the bottom. I'm not going to get into all of the finer details here, but we are looking at this move into impact. Now, when I get my hands on the outside of my thighs, what I'm doing is I'm just really getting this left thigh, or this left hand to move up the thigh and the right to move down. Now, you can see at the same time, if I get a line over my head here, we'll just see that the head moves downwards slightly and to the right. Now, this is dropping this right hip and it's lifting this lead hip. All right, and it actually looks pretty good. The couple of things, when it starts to look decent, most things that look good, generally they are, right? So getting yourself in a position like this is not that great. We see the left hip's a bit lower now. Now, block shots, it's a massive thing for so many players out there, blocking it and flipping it. And this move here of your hips, just have a look at this side here. When I come into impact, and you can see that I'm turning a little bit high with this right hip, you can see the belt buckle, right? Now you can see that it's quite low. Now there's an area here that it's 10 to 17 degrees up this lead hip, and this, people, is what helps us hang on to our angles rather than throwing the angles away because we're up too high. All right, so just by dropping a little bit down into that downswing, you're going to lift up this lead hip, but your arm's going to stay a little bit bent as well. So if I get up, if I stay very level and turn level, I have to throw my arms literally to get contact. Now you can see I'm turning this way, but I've lost all my angles and my right arm straight. Right, so to hit something really hard and hit it well, you want to have the arms slightly bent. And it's like a zone, right? It's like you get in, you've got your address position and you just lower down and you'll find this, it's like a clicking spot. Right? It's what creates the room. It's this right hip high that actually gets stuck. A lot of players come down with their arms way behind them, but they don't get stuck. You can see players come out in front and they still get stuck. It's what your hips do. Right, it's creating that move on the way down, that right hip moving down, the head's going to move down, and you've got this lifting up, and this is what can give you the space. So guys, one of the most important areas for you guys looking at yourself analyzing is if I get my setup okay, and I get a line up from just the outside of this left ankle, okay? I'm going to run that up and we're going to call that the wall. Okay, now at impact, it's okay if I get some of my leg through this wall, but you can't have any of your shoulder through this wall. I have never in my life seen anyone that's hit the ball, the driver well, when the shoulder gets through this wall. I just haven't yet seen it. Okay, so you don't want to try and be the first. Now, what we're trying to do with this little exercise, you can use like a bottle of water or something, make sure it's empty, or a sleeve of golf balls, you know, the box without the golf balls in it, obviously. But you can also just get a towel and just put it like 10 inches in front. And we're just going to try and hit this ball away here without hitting the towel. So if you had something in front of you and you were moving forwards and you were getting too steep and coming on the way down, you'd hit it. Okay, now this is going to help us sort of collect the ball at the bottom of the swing arc or slightly on the way up. So we'll give one a bit of a hit down there and see if we can just take this ball off and not catch this towel. All right, got a nice strike. I'm actually not lying. That was a good one. We see that the tee flew backwards. I think sometimes when the tee stays in the ground, it's actually perfect. A lot of people say, oh, when the tee flies backwards, it's always a good shot. Why does that actually happen? It's just because we just catch the top of the tee and the tee stays in the ground, but it hits the ground, and it's like a trampoline effect and goes backwards. But if you're forever walking forwards to get your tee, all right, you'll be too steep. But if you can just pick it off, it's probably even a more optimal contact. But a drill like this, you could put a wood cover down. As I said, you could put a bottle of water down there with no water in it, but it'll give you an idea of hitting this thing more on the way up and not crashing through this wall with your shoulder. Really, really important. So, hi everybody, we're looking at a station here with alignment rods for your driver, and very, very important. I'm just seeing so many people practicing everywhere with and changing their ball positions constantly. Now you can see here I've just got 3 alignment sticks, 3 alignment rods. I've got 2 running parallel to my target line, and I'm using this 3rd alignment rod here for my ball position, and I'm just teeing the ball up directly opposite this tour stick here. Now there's obviously a few things that it does. So we can see that when we're standing, we can see that we can have the ball position either off the left heel or a ball width inside that heel. You guys have to experiment around with your best ball position there. It does vary somewhat, but if you're inside those parameters, you're getting very, very close. And when you're looking, the other advantage here is when you're using your waggle or taking the club away, you can actually see where outside is, you can actually see where inside is, and we can actually see where straight is, and also the same effect heading out through the golf ball. All right, so it's a really, really important thing if you're hitting from the same position to be on the driving range to get yourself set up the same every time, and then you get your shoulders set up nice and straight, get everything set up nice and straight, and then you can get in there and do your practice, and you know then that you're practicing effectively, that you're not standing there and wasting your time aiming left, aiming right, having different ball positions. It's just something that we're seeing a lot of the time with people having different ball positions and practicing their mistakes. This is your driver's station. Get yourself organized over the golf ball, guys. It should really, really help you out.